In this episode, we're going to pick up from where we left off from part 1. It went a little long because we had fun. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed.
The definition is here. It's in the illustration. It says, this is in my policy design. I don't quite understand what that means. And what does it mean that it is expected to, anticipated to? That's not a guarantee. That makes me uncomfortable. If this was some other thing that is kind of like a nice to have, it'll be great if it's there. Okay, I'll take a little risk, right. But not here. This isn't an arena where I want to have some risk. I have plenty of other investment vehicles where I'm taking on plenty of risk. But then again, one key difference between yourself and others is you understand that there may be somebody that likes to gamble, that has very specific needs and maybe only needs to win two races. So yeah, let's pump this little engine up to 1,000 horsepower.
Right.
I only need to win 2 races. After that, I don't care. But someone like me, I think when we talked, I need to win 17 plus years of racing, right? You took my specific needs and designed a policy according to that, because I had, my time horizon, the factors that influence what I was trying to do, and
goals. You had goals that we clarified. You clarified. You had some goals that were adjusted, but they're going to be met. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, and I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, and I had mentioned before that sometimes I was a little off-put by other presentations where their premiums are 6 figures, 7 figures, and they're doing this because they want to invest in real estate or their businesses and things like that. And it was a little off-putting, but I think I've read the book 3 times now. I kind of caught it was in there, but sometimes you don't see it. You don't see your nose, it's right on your face. But one thing you do with it is you can finance your lifestyle. You don't have to finance business endeavors, right? It can just be the things that you're going to spend money on, right? You talked about your truck. I had a tax bill, and so my policy was perfect for me because I know that there is money going out that's not coming back to me. It's not a loan. It's basically, it is an investment. It's an investment in education and things like that. But it's not something where I expect those dollars to come back, let alone profit, right? And so my policy was designed the way that best suited my needs. And one size does not fit all. I'm glad that you took the time for me to explain what I thought my goal was, but you said, well, why is that your goal? Why are you trying to accomplish that? And then I explained to you, you're like, okay, that's your true goal. These are just things that help, deliver. And,
I got to say that, well, in communications, I'm just saying that you're telling me one thing and I'm listening and I'm paying attention, but you're also telling me what you wanted. Mm-hmm. And, what you were saying was really not what you wanted, but you didn't know that. You were telling me all of that. Mm-hmm. I was just asking, to connect the two.
Right.
Right. And for clarity for me, but.
Yeah. And there's a safety thing that I've learned. It's one of these biases we have, and we use it in safety. I've worked in a lot of industries that are dangerous, but very safety conscious. Yeah. It is a term called look, but fail to see. Sometimes you're looking at something so close that you don't actually see what's in front of your face. You alluded to that when you're shaving your face, like, oh, I've had a nose there this whole time. Yeah. Like it's there all the time. It's actually in your field of vision, but your brain trains yourself to kind of ignore it. And then sometimes you just, oh, there it is, right? And so, yeah, I was looking, but failing to see what my goal was. And after our conversation, it's like, okay, well, this is one thing I need to support the ultimate goal of what I had. And, I'm doing several things to make that, as far as, investing in education and things like that. And so that is a far cry from the 20, 30-minute conversations I had with everybody else. How much? How long do you want to pay? How much you want to pay? How long? We're done. I'll send you something.
Those are good to know, needed to know, but not the end all of be all, right?
Yeah. And the thing is I bought into that. Okay. Best policy illustration wins. You earn my business. But I'm glad I didn't go that route. And most people, everyone except you, is more than happy to send you illustrations after that 20, 30-minute conversation. I don't know how long it took for me to get one. Like I said, I decided to go with you before I even saw it, because you addressed or assuaded the questions, concerns I had with it. You didn't just tell me, don't worry about it. That never happens. It had never happened in my lifetime. But now, after watching that 7-part series, like, holy cow, I was this close, and my spreadsheet kind of raised a couple of red flags. Mm-hmm. One of them being direct recognition. It was a little, I don't think I ever figured out how to properly account for that, which made me think like, this looks risky, right? If I can't solve it in a formula, mm-hmm. it's a little risky, right? But I never actually asked anyone for an illustration because I had no idea how this works. Right. I felt like asking someone to give me an illustration was the same as asking someone to run my credit. You get dinged every time you do that, right? And I thought, if I ask for an illustration, I'm locked in with you. I'm committed.
I got it.
And so I never asked for one, but they sent me multiple ones, right? They would send me, I think only one agent out of the 6 sent me an illustration from more than one company, but the other ones, 4 agents sent me an illustration from 4 different companies, and every illustration had a variant, a different writer, sometimes a different product. Like they'll sell, policies that are IBC, you could say compliant, but there's different versions, different products, and then there are different writers. And so they sent me all these different combinations of policies, and there was like 14, 15 of them. And I use those to kind of build a test in my spreadsheet, but that's all it took. That's all it took for them to generate all those illustrations unasked, because I felt like, please don't run my credit. But if you're going to send it, great. If you're going to run a soft check, right? How there's a hard inquiry, soft inquiry. If it's a soft inquiry, okay, send me. But they sent me a whole bunch, and that's not the way to do it. Right. I felt like it was like, hurry up and sign. Yeah. Right. I'm giving you what you asked for. You want to pay this much. You want to pay it this long. Hurry up and sign.
Yeah. Let's go right into underwriting.
Yeah. Don't worry about those pesky little writers and
all
potential
the disclosures.
Right. Because there are things that say if something that's not within your control doesn't do what it's supposed to do, your policy is going to be in trouble. Either you're going to have to come up with more money, or it might MAC or whatever. And if it's not in my control, it's like, well, that's just risk, right? That's just, I've got none of the policy illustrations I got, even though I got, like 14, 15, ever showed what would happen if I didn't do my part, right? And that's kind of where my spreadsheet came in. What happens when I take possession of this policy, this vehicle for practicing IBC? What happens if I don't treat it well? Right, just like a car. What if I don't change the oil? What if I don't rotate my tires? Am I going to get the same performance from someone who does? Right? None of those things are in there. They don't talk about it. I did not get the impression that they would spend time to teach you that. It's like, here's your policy. Here you've got your policy. Here's how you take loans. Here's how you pay it back. Call me if you have any questions. Like, okay, but it's like you've handed a tool to someone that not sure what job I'm supposed to be doing with this tool. I don't know. I just know this is a tool to achieve some of my goals, but how exactly am I supposed to use it? What happens if I drop it in a bucket of water, kind of thing, right? I didn't know, right? And it's kind of where I got back to. The more I thought about it, policy illustrations are the weed eater in that logic story. You could go this way, you could go that way, you could go this way with that little bit of information. Without more information to build upon, more context, more tenets and rules, you're going to end up there when you should be over here. right? And that's what I tried to do with my spreadsheet. When we talked before, I know we called it the spreadsheet of truth, but the more and more I thought about it, and after talking to Jake, it was really more a spreadsheet of reality.
Yeah.
What happens when this policy illustration that you said isn't worth the pay? It's wrong the minute I print it, but I felt pretty confident that what I saw would do what it says it's going to do if it's maintained and treated properly. And so that's what my spreadsheet did. When I created my spreadsheet, the first portion of it, you could say the base, was to mimic policy illustration software. Whatever, the insurance companies use, where you type in my information, right? Age and health rating, whatever, and it spits out that. That's what my spreadsheet did as the core function. Because at the time, I didn't know that even the guaranteed side could be incorrect if certain things happen, right? I just assumed that these things would do what they were going to do if they're in a perfect world. And so that's what my spreadsheet did. Is it was the first thing it did. Is it mimicked policy illustration software, where it, based on the dividend, it's going to generate this, cash value is going to grow, and a relationship between cash value, PUAs, and death benefit. It did all that stuff. That was just the baseline. And I know someone asked me, like, every time something changes, you got to do a lot of work. No, it's not a lot of work. If my life insurance company changed dividend rates on a weekly basis, I don't have to rewrite anything. I just type in another number. I just change the way it averages dividend. Because there's all kinds of ways to do averages, right? You sometimes you put more weight on the most recent data, and you project it out with more weight on that data point than the previous one. So all that's in there. So if dividend rates change, or the number of the dollars in death benefits that PUA dollars buy change, that's easy to fix. I just change the number and spits it all out. So that was the first part of it. It's just mimicking what illustration software does without having to make a lot of changes. I just change a number, change a flag. You saw where I go, yes, no, check box. If I check certain things, it spits out different things, right? But the real value is, what am I going to do? What is my impact on my policy? Not what the insurance company impact on I don't care about that. There's already a number that I change to do that. It's, what am I going to do to this policy? What happens if for a year or two, I can't pay max funded, or I can't pay back loans? I can't even pay back the interest. What happens when those things happen? What happens if I try to catch up, but I don't? If I have if I have to take like a year off of paying, if I have to borrow to pay what happens in that? I mean, if I call you and I ask, will you run through that with me, James? Can we go through the next 15 years? And in this year, I'm making 10,000 less, and that year, I would drive an agent mad.
I can see that. No, but you're an engineer,
And so I felt,
but I get it.
I felt I had to do that for my own benefit,
sure.
Because they're selling me, just the illustration, and my mindset was on that. But what happens when I take possession of it? What happens when I don't change the oil? Right. What happens when I don't rotate the tires? When I don't pay the PUA? When I can't pay the interest on a loan and things like that? So that's what the spreadsheet was. Its true value was, and the thing is when I initially wrote the spreadsheet, is what is the impact on my financial posture, right? My funding, my ability to fund, how is that going to impact the performance of my policy? If I underfund 1 year, don't pay. That was how the spreadsheet was written. How do I affect my policy performance?
You're being gracious. I mean, there's that, what I seen, even did more than that, because you're very altruistic. Mm-hmm. And so that is the safety side that you reference, or, look but didn't see, or look but don't see. What could go wrong? Mm-hmm. And I would expect that, especially from a conservative person, or, that has a mind of an engineer, right? Mm-hmm. Very common. But if things go well, or things go as expected or very close to what's expected. The outcome is extremely important too.
Right.
Because those are things that are near and dear to you that you want to happen. And maybe you're taking income or whatever they are for you. Right. That was very powerful. I mean, this was not just, I'm going to get out of debt and I'm going to pay my home off in 5 or 7 years. And I'm going to do we used to call them power balls, how to get out of debt with an illustration and software, an Excel spreadsheet. And they're out there and everybody has their own version of it and accurate. No.
Yeah.
Your spreadsheet of reality.
Yeah.
Your spreadsheet of reality is not that. That is not just an Excel spreadsheet and you've got a couple of life insurance policies, showing you how to get out of debt and then, buying the next policy and then buying the next policy somewhere behind that Excel spreadsheet. Yours is not that. All right. And so, but it is also more than just, what if I don't do this? And we should all be disciplined.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's no question. If you don't, who will? If you don't care, why should I care?
Right.
If you don't care, who's going to care? So you should do it and you should have a path and you should have a mechanism, a methodology to measure, your progress and what you're doing. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Right.
Right. But beyond that, it was very creative. I'm just saying that it isn't like there's just one thing you wanted to do in the future is take income.
Right.
You had, I don't know how many, a lot of altruistic goals out there. So I'm just saying he's being gracious. It's just not boiled down to what if I don't do this? It's not that.
Yeah. And the best investment they say is in personal growth or education. Right?
Sure.
And that's where most of my money is going to go. The money the money above what I need, right? It was going to go to that. And that's when I go back to that. If you're going to spend it anyway, there is a way to capture it through a policy and pay. Because basically what I'm doing is, me today is taking loans, borrowing from future me, because future me is going to have lower expenses, right? Because you talk about, 2 ways to like maybe triggers to start a new policy, right? To me, what triggers a new policy need is steady income. Windfalls do not dictate a new policy. As a matter of fact, the biggest takeaway I got from Building Your Warehouse of Wealth, right? I read the book, but the one thing that stuck into my mind is my spreadsheet shows me that loans are costly, right? It's a bad thing to have a loan. I got to clear that thing out as soon as possible. But the biggest takeaway I had from Building Your Warehouse of Wealth is a loan balance is where you put windfalls. If you have a windfall, that is where you put it. You put it into a loan balance, and now you freed up more cash value for the next thing, right? And so it kind of took a little pressure off me where I was uber aggressive in getting my loan balances down. I still plan to do it, but I'm giving myself a little more time to do it because I do feel that in investing in education and personal growth for my loved ones is the best place to invest, time, money, what resources, what have you, right? And so that's where a lot of the money's going between now and when other expenses drop off. And so I'm basically borrowing from future me to pay for the things I want to do in the next, 5 to 8 years. And then afterwards is where expenses go down. Because I do show a modest, I think like 2.25% increase in income year over year. Very conservative, I think. But that's not where the horsepower is going to come from to take care of the loans and things like that I have now. It's going to be from lowering my expenses. And so, but that was a big takeaway. If I do have a windfall, an unexpected windfall, I have a place to put it. Any loan balance I have, why not get ahead of the plan?
That is very akin to, earlier it's like maybe a time period to pay a premium is very finite in our mind. I only have 2 races to win, or 5 years or 10 years or 8 years or 7 years or whatever. It's very difficult. One of my favorite quotes, I believe it was Hayek, the mind cannot foresee its own advance. Right? So I know that you've experienced windfalls in your life that you did not expect.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I have, you have, the listener, we all have, and we all will continue to do that. Right? Now, does that mean you go out and buy a policy and structure it to have a big loan and you're going to make room for an unknown windfall in the future? I'm not saying that.
Mm.
Right? But it's the same thinking as like, well, I don't know where I'm going to get the premium in the 10th or 11th year. I don't want to pay a premium beyond the 10th or 11th year or whatever point in time there is in the future, however many years that is. While when you step back and consider that, the 35, 40-year-olds, like, I don't want to pay premiums more than 15 years. Oh, at 35 and 15, then you're 50. Mm-hmm. You're barely into the peak earning years of your career. It makes no sense to be forced to reduce a premium or be forced to go through underwriting again.
That is crazy.
But the mind can't, it's like when you were 20, you didn't think you were going to be 50.
Right.
When you were 19, you thought 30 was, the other side of 30 was death. Right. And now when you're 40, you don't think you can be 60 or 70. And when you're 70, you can't see yourself at age 85. I mean, I don't know what that is about the human mind, but it's very difficult for us to think long term, and I think that's part of the culture. In the noise and the messaging that we are submersed in. It's right now.
It's not accidental either.
It is not.
Yeah.
And multiple people or entities are profiting from it.
Yeah, they're profiting from our short-term thinking, for our need to live above our means, to instant gratification. Yeah, somebody's profiting. The thing I don't get, right? I understand not being able to kind of, like you said, see beyond. What was it? Your mind cannot.
The mind cannot foresee its own advance.
I can understand that, why that would be difficult. What I can't understand is when you have, as much as I've, talked somewhat negatively about illustrations, it's in black and white. Okay, if I told you, hey, I have this ATM or I have this money machine, you stick $1 in it today, you'll get 60, 70, 80, 90 cents back. 10 years from now, 10 years from now, you stick $1 in, you're going to get $1.50 out. 20 years from now, you stick $1 in, you're going to get $2.25 out. Why would you stop using the machine after 5 years, after 10 years, right? You can see in your policy illustrations, money going in, increase in cash value. Why would you stop?
Why would you stop? And look, that doesn't happen without if you're looking at the 20th year, and of course, the further out you look, the bigger the numbers are, of course. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the 20th year, that increase in cash value doesn't happen without the preceding 19 years.
Right.
Right. And okay, so we're not like cherry picking a time point and saying, this is why you do that for the 20th year. No. What are you going to do between now? What are you going to do between now and the 20th year? Mm-hmm. You're going to live, and you're going to give, and you're going to enjoy, and you're going to spend, and you're going to save and spend and save and spend or invest and do whatever. You're going to do all these things anyway.
Right.
To create a life insurance policy that, we all only have one exponential curve in our life. A life insurance policy that mirrors your life has an exponential curve. And they're built to pay a premium. Mm-hmm. All you have to do is pay a premium. So, if you're going to illustrate, $150,000 or $200,000 in premium in year one, and then minimum premiums afterwards, it's like the internal rate of return on that policy is jank anyway. So what are you really doing other than, potentially investing in real estate or whatever the other secondary or tertiary sell that the promoter's promoting? And I'm a capitalist. I don't mind revenue streams, right? But, I'm pointing out the fact that, whatever product they're trying to get you to buy so they can create themselves another revenue stream in that first year to get you to say yes. And then, well, why?
Yeah.
Why? When there's nothing wrong with slow and steady, proper structure. I'm not saying that we should pay pennies, pennies in, pennies out. You got a penny any deal. No, they should be legitimate premiums, but on a proper structure, you're able to pay a premium in the future, but not necessarily obligated.
Right.
Right now, the future is unknown. Well, what does the infinite banking concept look like in retirement, James? It looks fabulous. Well, how does that work? There's multiple ways it can work. When do you want to retire? What are you going to, should I take a loan? Should I do a premium offset? Should I do a reduced paid up? Should I just surrender to basis and then do loans? And, the short answer is, I don't know. And you don't either, because the future is unknown. Do you have a support system? Are you going to be 85 years old and going to be able to manage an outstanding loan? Can you pay a premium? Do you have your children, your grandchildren? The circumstances at that point in time in the future, for whatever the situation is going to dictate what you do. Right. So how about we just be put and we get into the best position that we can get into right now? Right, that's correct. Maybe stresses us a little bit, causes us to think, right? And causes us to check our math and check our work, check our thinking. Okay. And then we get going. And then we make adjustments along the way. Maybe we got to pay more premium. Maybe we started too small. We need to buy another policy. Well, maybe we started too big. Maybe we need to lower our premium a little bit. You know what I mean? But it's the correct foundation. And then I'm telling you, straight from Nelson Nash, capital attracts opportunity. It's the economic world. All of the schools of thought have it backwards. Wall Street creates an opportunity to attract your capital. No, you create capital that you own, that you control, right? That you can control, and see what opportunities are attracted to that capital. I'm telling you, it increases your ability to even recognize an opportunity. So, and I'm kind of speaking directly toward that idea of what do we do? After I get mesmerized by a big presentation and I said yes, and I've got a premium. Now I've just got a life insurance policy. If I don't do something with it, what do I do? Right. I'm telling you, I'm encouraging you, right? If you have a life insurance policy, pay the premium. Focus on that. Focus on the premium. Premium. The problem is the problem. Whatever the problem is a problem. And I know if it's your problem, it's a legitimate problem. But it's still the problem. The solution is a premium. Why? Well, James, you're just getting paid a commission on the premium. Yeah, I'm a salesman. I get paid commissions and I earn fees on investments. Yeah, and I'm not giving anyone investment advice. Okay. The cash value is a derivative of the premium. All of those problems take capital. Cash values are capital. It is capital. So I'm just premium. That is the solution. And as trite, as simple, or, off the cuff as that sounds, I'm telling you, I would rather focus on a solution than focus on a problem. I know the problems exist. I'll address them and correct them as they come. Right. And I'll prevent and avoid as many as possible. That's the solution, is a premium. These policies are designed to pay a premium. You don't want to be in a position where you're forced to reduce your premium. They're designed to take a premium. Now, just once you get past that, okay, I'm in the future. What if my revenue goes down? What if a real estate deal doesn't close on time? What if I have to retire sooner than I anticipated? What if things happen? There's no question. Well, you want to be in the best position that you can be in, right? And then have all of the options that you could possibly have to make the best decision at that time as the circumstances dictate. And policy design is important into the unknown future, because you don't know what circumstances you're going to be in.
And you touched on two things, right? What if you did everything you said just now? Long-term thinking, you fund your policy. But then 12 years in, you get that letter, right? That's scary, because even if I were to do everything you just said, if the person that designed my policy didn't take those things into account, even though I'm willing and able to fund it as illustrated, it might not. That's what I don't know if I want to say I didn't know at the time that was a risk, but that is the biggest relief I had, that if I do my part, it will do its part. Yeah. It's on me, right? Yeah. And like you said, not everyone thinks that way and designs it that way. And when you present it to someone that may or may not know the intricacies of it, and they do everything they say, they get past all those roadblocks you talked about, and then they end up with something that It's like you go into your car, turn the key, and nothing happens. Like, what happened?
And you're late for work.
Right.
You got to be somewhere.
Your opportunity is running away.
Exactly.
You're losing it, right? And that was the other thing you talked about is like, now that I have it, what do I do with it? Right? That's the light bulb moment I had. It's in the title. Is this opportunity that's being presented to me facilitate me becoming my own banker? Yes or no? Yes, I'll do it. No, why would I?
Right.
That's the goal, not the policy illustration, not the cash value. That's the goal, becoming your own banker. And so that's, like you said, if you do your part, those opportunities will come. That's my test of whether or not I do it, take advantage of an opportunity or not. And so I feel a lot more at ease and comfortable that I'm on the right track. If I do my part, the policy is going to do it. And based on my limited, somewhat focused tunnel vision goals, there are other ones, like you said, capital attracts opportunities. They come my way. I have a test, but obviously I don't know the correct answer every time, but I'm getting there. And that was like, I think I shared. So there, with Excel, when you open Excel, it's a workbook and it has spreadsheets in it, right? Oops. And so I don't remember if I shared the whole workbook with you or just the one spreadsheet for IBC. I think I did. I showed you that.
You took the cover off.
Right.
Right.
But I showed you my retirement planning, right? What happens if Social Security isn't there for me?
Oh, look, he solved for like 4 different scenarios of what ifs, right? But you're an engineer. I mean, that's the way your mind works.
I'm a geek. I'm a nerd. It's just I get off on stuff.
He's a geeky, dirty engineer. I mean, he has solved for what if this and this and this. Which is perfect.
Because I had multiple scenarios, like you said, worst case, best case kind of thing, and so I ran scenarios where what happens if Social Security is not there? What if company A pension falls through, company B? What if both of them? What if all 4? Right? What if I have to go down to cat food version of living and getting by if none of these things come through? Right? And I had a plan, and I have these multiple levels of plan, and the final one is not actually cat food, but pretty close, right? It's probably.
Hey, I like tuna fish.
It's probably instant. Well, I'm saying cat food, not tuna. Tuna is a luxury at that point. But it's more like I'm not going to be able to do anything above and beyond just living, right? I got my food covered, shelter, healthcare, but I'm not going to get to do vacations and things like that, right? So that's like the bare minimum scenario, right? And even if that were to fail, if I completely blow everything, I have my policy. That is like my safety net. It's a safety net I want to hand off to my beneficiaries, right?
Sure.
But it's there for me if I need it.
Sure.
And so all of those things, all of those different spreadsheets in the workbook feed into each other, cross into each other. Like if I have a lower rate of return on my investments and things like that, it impacts my income, in later years and all that stuff. And again, that was the big change after talking to Jake, because Jake, as I mentioned before, he showed me what we talked about, what we agreed on, right? And that, like you said, you got to be a little uncomfortable. That required uber discipline. No screwing up. No, wow, that's a nice car. I'm going for it, or whatever, right? I want an 80-inch TV.
It's legitimate.
It required discipline.
Sure.
Little margin for error. And then Jake showed me, if you stretch even more, because your policy has that flexibility, you could be in a much better position. And when I saw that, that's where I had I did it wrong. I didn't do it wrong technically, but I have to look at it from a different perspective. Forget about what my income and what my finances, what impact I'm going to have on my policy.
Yeah.
I flipped it around. The policy we talked about is great, but what Jake showed me was better. I'm flipping it around. Now, there's a term. There's something called a variable, meaning it changes, and then there's I can't believe I'm drawing a blank. It's basically something fixed. Like if you're doing a car loan, the fixed thing is the number of years. if you're getting a 5-year loan, let's mess with your payments, or let's mess with your down. These are variables, but what's fixed is this thing. What became fixed, the thing that doesn't change, is max funding my policy. Then I had to evaluate, how am I going to do that? Because I couldn't. It wasn't possible. I had to go find ways to fund my policy. Back to the book. You use your policy for stuff you're going to spend money on anyway, right? I think, I can't say one way or another. I don't know how many people have an escrow account with their mortgage, right? You basically pay your mortgage company, whoever it is. Your payment includes property taxes and insurance. In California, that's a big number, huge number. And so at the end of the year, and this is where it confirmed what the decision I had already made. I said, okay, I'm not going to escrow that. I'm going to keep it. I'm going to use that to fund my policy and then borrow it, pay it back. Future me is going to pay me back for using my escrow money to, fund my policy, because that's where the extra money I needed came, because I couldn't find it. There's no subscription I could have canceled, no loan, whatever. It's nowhere to be found. But then there's this escrow account. And so instead of paying my mortgage company, and this decision was cemented, I don't know what the dividend number is, but it's at least 3%, let's say. The dividend I get on my policy. My mortgage company pays me 0.01% interest on my escrow account, because I'm pre-funding my tax and insurance payment, and they're giving me 0.01%. Now, I know sometimes on your podcast and Mr. Griggs' podcast, you kind of deride, like, this number is bigger than that one. Well, duh. Well, in this case, it was duh. Do I want to warehouse, my money in my policy or in my mortgage companies?
Yeah.
Right. And so that was like, aha, I found it. I can do what Jake showed me. And when I did that, it solved a lot of problems that my spreadsheet identified. Wow. There were going to be years where it was really tight, and I couldn't even cover the interest, right? You don't want that interest to compound. So I had one where max fund the policy, anything left over goes to loan balances. And you see my spreadsheet, it goes out like 30 years. Little red flags will pop up with, like, you can't even cover the interest this year. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? There were years where it popped up, and it would show me how short I was of just the interest payment, not even a penny to the principal. Yeah. And so when I shifted the focus, even though I'm borrowing this money the following year, the fact that I'm putting it in there, all those little red flags went away. Every year I had enough funding to not only pay at least the interest, a certain portion of the loan principal went down. And so not only did the conversation with Jake solve some problems, but at the end, I'm in a much better position than had I just gone with the slightly uncomfortable, loosen my belt buckle approach. I went to where there was no way I could get there. But because he put this goal in front of me, you know what they say, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. Mm-hmm. I figured out a way. And those are the types of things I'm positive no one else would have pointed out to me. Here's what you asked for. Sign. Not telling me here's flexibility you have, here's how you should, here's better ways to run it. But I'm so grateful to have the opportunity to learn from people who are very well versed, dare I say, gurus, experts on the subject, because I'm learning, and these things benefit me, right? I don't care who else's bottom line they benefit. It benefited me in a significant way, and going back to one of the things that the biggest impression I got is you have my specific best interests. And every time I go look at whatever has happened, it proves itself, right? In how it's going to help me, quite honestly, exceed the goals I initially had when we talked. And wow. That's a great feeling. You know?
That's powerful. Thank you. I mean, that's impressive. That's very powerful. And that's really the way it should be, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you, the mother of invention is necessity, right? I know Nelson in his book, he had to get honest with himself, mm-hmm. right? Where was he spending his money? Where were his cash flows going? What he was in control of? What was he doing? And you can't. I mean, that's incredibly valuable. Mm-hmm. Where you mastering your own assets, and that's really, we don't want to create dependency at all. I want to create and promote thinking, mm-hmm. And it's very powerful whenever, it's got to be a legitimate number though. The premium has to be a legitimate number. If it's something that, you could do, falling off a cantaloupe truck backwards, it's not that big a deal. But whenever you have to sit there and check your math, check your numbers, and really do some searching and some consideration, that's only going to better you. Mm-hmm. Right. And so if you can't come up with the number, you can't come up with the number, whatever that number is. Right, we can still build a solution that fits you. Right. Right. But it also should stretch you, but not to the point where, you're illustrating premiums that you'll never be able to pay. I mean, that doesn't benefit anyone.
Yeah. And that's where I take a conservative approach, right? I'm not expecting a windfall. Right. I'm expecting some of my expenses to come down because
that's a windfall.
Right. Yeah. But I'm borrowing from future me because future me has lower expenses. I'm not expecting to, win the lottery or anything like you said, it is stretching. Quite honestly, it's stretching beyond my ability for the next 5 to 7 years. But I know after that, when certain expenses drop off, because that's the end of the term, right? Whether it's a car loan or mortgage, I will be able to pay myself back. And so that was why I was willing to go beyond what technically I was able to do. I'm basically telling future me, hey, I'm going to borrow some money. You're going to pay it back. But look at the benefit. Look at the difference between if I had stretched a little and stretching technically beyond my means.
That's very powerful. Look, so either I can put it off at paying a premium, right, for 7 to 10 years, and then I can start paying a premium in 7 to 10 years. Mm-hmm. I can work my way out of debt for 7 to 10 years and then start saving money, right? Comparatively, I can pay a premium, and I'm not doing this willy-nilly. I've done my math. I've done my homework. I have been honest with myself, mm-hmm. right? And I'm being conservative. I can pay a premium, and I'm going to use this money. I'm going to leverage the policy, and maybe I'm going to carry some loan balances, but I'm not going to let them compound out of control.
Right.
And then my debts or whatever, the terms are ended, they're paying. I'm going to have a new cash flow or a directable cash flow. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to add another 7 or 10 year time period because now we're knocking on retirement's door or whatever.
Right.
You compare that, let's say a 20-year time period. So I'm gonna get out of debt or save I'm gonna get out of debt for 10 years and then start saving for 10 years, 20-year time period. Okay. I'm gonna start a policy and use that policy with some leverage. I'm going to borrow against it, but I'm going to maintain control of those loans for the next 10 years until I have this new cash flow, which would have been savings mm-hmm. in my other example, or additional savings, right? But now from that time period or that 10th year to the 20th year, now I'm just repaying these loans. At the end of the 20-year time period, I'm going to have more money in a contract that I own and control than I would have comparatively.
Right.
But it's like, oh, wait a minute. In 20 years, I can't think past next week. I want it now. Yeah, it's just a life insurance.
New
Just paying
iPhone's
a
coming out in
premium.
August, right?
Huh?
New iPhone's coming out in August.
Yeah, right.
We find ways to spend money that doesn't come back to us.
Yeah,
right?
he's talking about iPhone. I get so much pushback because my iPhone is so old.
Mm-hmm.
They're Apple's going to force me out of it, because they're not going to support it.
Yeah, and
I don't like change.
just like I said, the test for opportunities is that whenever I think about a big expense, I think about it, is this better served? This expense better served me buying something, or is it better served as a PUI payment?
Yep.
Right. So that helps too. Like the old thing of freezing your credit card, and by the time it thaws, you've had time to think about it. But that's an easy test.
Sure.
Is this purchase going to jeopardize my ability to max fund my policy? If the answer is yes, then I'm not doing it. If the answer is no, maybe.
That's some real discipline there.
Yeah, but that's pretty new to me. I was very undisciplined until 3-4 years ago. That was not me. New iPhone, yeah, I'll take it. Oh, it's free, I just have to sign a 2-year contract. Well, yeah, I'll take it. Right? But, and I, the things I've discovered, that I don't want to put all my eggs in traditional retirement vehicles. I don't want to give control over to, financial advisors and things like that. It's not that they're bad people. It just hasn't worked for me. And the numbers have shown that it doesn't typically work out historically for most of us. And when, we talk about how people are twisting and producing Frankenstein monsters of policies and interpretations of the book, I was reminded of something that it's called Hanlon's razor. And the way it was explained to me that I understood, the easiest explanation was allegedly a quote from Napoleon Bonaparte. It says, "Never ascribe malice to that which is adequately explained by incompetence." I don't think there's people out there trying to scam us. It's just they don't know any better. They're doing the best they can. And that applies to sometimes when people are led down the wrong path under the guise of infinite banking, under the guise of becoming your own banker, and they're led astray. It's not always like the quote says. Doesn't have to be malice. It can just be incompetence.
I'm guilty of that. I've ascribed, incompetent or malice to incompetence. No question. I'll do better.
Yeah, but all the more reason I feel very good about where I'm at, who I'm working with, what I'm doing, how this IBC is like spills over into other portions of my financial stuff. Like I've normally only had checking and savings with a bank, but now there was like some special where if I deposited X amount of dollars and opened a brand new money market account, I would get the same interest rate, which is about 0.5%, little over 0.5% for any amount, versus that 0.5% is reserved for deposits of like $250,000 and up, if I took advantage of it. So I did, because I need a place to park my money until my PUA is due. So why not let it stew and marinate and earn a little interest for 10 months before I make my PUA and my loan payments? But my loan payments I make more regularly because of accrued interest. But little things like that, it's starting to help not only with my discipline, but taking better care of my money. And I'm able to do that because I'm, to a certain extent, controlling the banking function as what the book is telling you to do. If you can control it, who better than yourself to work toward your best interest? Right? Is Visa working in my best interest? Are these credit card companies, GM financing, whatever? No. But the more control you can have, the better. And like I said, the book, your team, I feel very not only comfortable but confident that I'm on the right path. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I can't thank you enough, to with helping me with this and giving me the opportunity to kind of, spread the word, share my story, that hopefully help some people get through the noise. Because I was confused. I was lost. Like I said, I gave up for a few months because it's like I don't understand why they're arguing. Aren't they all IBC practitioners? Why are they arguing against each other, right? And now I have a clear understanding. The noise and the fog is lifting, and I really feel good about where I'm at and where I'm going.
I love that. I feel good about it too.
Yep.
That if the money market account, it's really adding form. It's adding structure to your cash flows, right? It's an extension of your banking system. Mm-hmm. It does add form and clarity to the flow of money, and it's very simple. It's an account,
right?
And I'm just saying the value exceeds the simplicity that you're controlling it. Your actions, your thought process. All of that accrues to you and to your beneficiaries. All of that. Mm-hmm. And you cannot put that anywhere on a life insurance illustration.
Right.
You can't put the value. Can we put a 0.5 point, on the money market account? Yeah. But the form, the clarity, the discipline that encourages, it's I don't want to say priceless, but it's dang near priceless. It just adds a lot more value than you think.
Right. Right.
So, all right. Well, you're very nice, very complimentary, and I'm very appreciative. So, is there anything else you want to touch on before we go?
No, I covered it pretty well, and I think I was a little more, how would you say, structured? Because last time, it was a conversation, kind of exciting, maybe nervous energy is all over the place. But I think I've made it pretty clear, what the challenges were and what I think the answer to a lot of those challenges is, and it's becoming your own banker, right? And that's the guidance I need. I don't need someone to teach me policy designs. I need someone to teach me how to become my own banker. And I feel I'm with the right team.
Yeah,
I'm not with someone trying to shove another policy down my throat. Right. I'm with someone that wants me to learn and adopt that. Because you're passionate about the subject, very close to the author and the inspiration and what have you. So no one better in my mind to work with to try to achieve the goals from that book. And
I can't really even buy that kind of an endorsement anywhere. Thank you. No, thanks so much, Mike. I appreciate you very much.
Okay. Yep, thank you.
Thank you for joining us on the Banking with Life podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and click on that little notification bell. Otherwise, join us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher for weekly content.